Well, I think, first of all, it's important to distinguish between where someone is on a policy issue with a label with name calling. All of those are different points. And I certainly think that we should all want that our leaders do not engage in name calling, because that's really just a very low level of discourse, and we should expect more from leaders. In terms of where I am, who I am, I'm a progressive Democrat. I am a Democrat. I am a proud Democrat. I'm not a socialist. I believe that the people in our country today want leaders who understand that right now everyone does not have equal opportunity to success, and we need to restore America's promise for equal opportunity to success. I believe that right now we've got a country of folks who, in particular the working middle class, who deserve to have more support, and that the rules have been written over the last several decades, frankly, in a way that have excluded them. And we can look most recently at the tax bill that was passed that benefits the top 1% and big corporations, to the exclusion of helping middle-class Americans, which is why I'm proposing that we change the tax code.
And what you propose is to take back the Trump tax cut.
Yes, repeal it.
Yeah,
repeal
to the wealthy and the corporations.
Absolutely.
Give that to the middle class, your LIFT Act, as you call it.
That's right.
Is that it for you, or do you think the government needs to raise more revenue?
Well,
Elizabeth Warren has the plan, the mega rich get taxed higher. Is that a good idea, or do you think you start by taking away the Trump tax cut, redistribute it more fairly?
We start there, but I absolutely believe that we also have to look at the fact that the top 1% can pay more and should pay their fair share. We're looking at a situation.
You're not there how much yet.
Well, I'm looking at all of these ideas, and I think they're very creative, and I see positive benefit to them. And right now, the working class of America, working middle class families, are suffering. I have met more people who, people tout the job numbers and the unemployment numbers. Yeah, people are working, but they're working 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, to pay the bills. That's not right.
You cast yourself on the campaign trail as a truth teller. You say we need to tell truths.
Yeah.
What do you say, or tell me if you think this is fair, that as you talk to Democratic voters, they're hungry. And they want ideas. And so you'll hear things like the Green New Deal. You'll hear things like Medicare for all. You'll hear things like whether it's taxes. You'll hear things.
Right.
At what point do you say, that's our North Star, but we have to be realists?
There's no question we have to be practical. But being practical also recognizes that climate change is an existential threat to us as human beings. Being practical recognizes that greenhouse gas emissions are threatening our air and threatening the planet, and that it is well within our capacity as human beings to change our behaviors in a way that we can reduce its effects. That's practical.
Can we afford it?
Of course we can afford it.
$2.5–3 trillion a year for Medicare for all by some studies. Depending on which portions of the Green New Deal you pick to do first, that's money. That you know what the Republicans are going to say, tax and spend liberals, pie in the sky.
One of the things that I admire and respect is the measurement that is captured in 3 letters, ROI. What's the return on the investment? People in the private sector understand this really well. It's not about a cost, it's about an investment. And then the question should be, is it worth the cost in terms of the investment potential? Are we going to get back more than we put in?
So when Mayor Bloomberg, Amy Klobuchar, some of your potential fellow Democrats say, no, it's too much, it's too ambitious, it's too expensive, you think they're wrong?
I look forward to that debate on the debate stage. I look forward to it very much.
Let me close with where we are. Trump blew up the blue wall. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. This state has been right in the last 4 in 8 out of the last 10 presidential elections. 31 counties that voted twice for Barack Obama in this state alone switched and voted for Donald Trump. How and why did that happen?
I'll leave that to the pundits, but I'll tell you that...
Can I stop you there for 1 second? If I'm a Democratic voter and I want Trump gone, I want a better answer than that. In the sense that, don't you have to know why it happened to know how to fix it?
No question, but not only why it happened. I think that the bigger question is, what do the American people want from their leader? That's the question that I ask. And when I sit down with folks in their living rooms, in a coffee shop, in a town hall, what they're talking about is the need to be able to work hard and be able to pay the bills at the end of the month.
But those were pretty big wows. I mean, do you get this? Do you think that President Obama just failed them? They got the sense that they didn't deliver enough change? Was Hillary Clinton just a bad candidate? Was Donald Trump just great?
I think it's a mistake to assume that people are one issue or that they're a monolith. There are people who voted for each of the candidates based on a variety of issues. But I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing in 2019 leading up to 2020. I'm hearing people in the state of Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina, wherever you want to pick, name the state, Wisconsin, Michigan, I've been in those places too. What they want to know is that people who want to be the leaders of this country are actually seeing them and thinking about the issues that keep them up at night. That's what they want. And whoever has the best plan for that, and I think speaks most truth about the reality of American life today, and speaks truth and with an honest heart and purpose about what can be the vision for our country, I think that's the person who the voters are going to support.
It's a fascinating moment in that there's so much more attention so early. Normally, candidates spend weeks, if not months, out here in small meetings. There's 20 cameras at some of these events. So I don't want to be over-judgmental, but she's going to need a better answer than that.
And you know who has one? Sherrod Brown, Amy Klobuchar, and others have a better answer than that. And they say, look, we can play in Trump country. I was with Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, not in yet, but seriously exploring it. He was in Howard County, Iowa, one of those counties you talked about that switched from Obama to Trump. The President Obama won with 57% of the vote. President Trump won with 60% of the vote. That's one of those counties. And he makes the case you have to go to Trump country and make the argument. That's a perfect example of how presidential candidates can grow on the campaign trail. We all remember 12 years ago, Barack Obama had many flubs.
People forget that. People forget that. Early Obama was not a good candidate.
He's not a hatched presidential candidate. He struggled. He talked way too long. They put him on teleprompter because he couldn't keep his answers short. But this is something, a growing process, and that answer is not sufficient to many Democrats.
And all of the Democrats are making a huge bet. It's a huge bet. My first campaign was the Dukakis campaign. He lost 40 states. Bill Clinton then ran saying the Democrats have to move to the center. Obama won after that. Even Hillary Clinton repudiated a lot of what her husband stood for when he ran for president. But they are making a huge bet. She was asked a question, the young girls actually here in the audience today, about the debt. Yeah. And she said we need to invest. She talked about spending.
Right.
The Democrats are making a big bet that they can sell this.
Right, a big bet, and they're very particular about what they want to hear. A really interesting moment also in South Carolina, in Columbia, I think about a week ago, where she was asked by a voter, like, why are you better than any of the other 2020 candidates to take on Trump? And she said, you know, I'm a fighter, and she talked about her middle-class tax plans and her lines about truth. People want someone who's tell the truth. Talked to the voter afterwards. She's like, that wasn't good enough. It was a generic answer. I want to hear more. You know, I'm keeping my mind open, but I need more than that. They want like a real, you know, hard connection with passion from these candidates.
One of the biggest litmus tests, if there are any litmus tests in this primary, is not an issue. It is viability. And it's can you defeat President Trump? You hear it again and again from voters. I just want to get Trump out of the White House.
Right.
And I think that's the kind of mood music to this discussion that we're having. That's why her answer is insufficient, is because that is such a crucial question that voters want to hear. How can you beat Trump? How can you put back into play those states that Trump flipped from Obama? And just talking about the fact that you're a fighter and the American people care about issues X, Y, and Z, I don't think cuts enough ice right now with those kinds of voters who do in fact want to hear a plan for how you can win. And to Jeff's point, you've got candidates whose entire candidacy in some ways now is centered on their own viability, namely Sherrod Brown and Amy Klobuchar. That's their entree into this race of I won Ohio, I won Minnesota. And it's going to be fascinating to see how those arguments clash with her in the months ahead.
It's a rough analogy when you look out the window and you spent the last few days here, but we're in the spring training phase of the campaign in the sense that it's interesting to watch the candidates grow. We'll see how that all plays out.